to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome in. It's Wednesday, March 4th here, a post-combine edition of the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I'm joined by Matthew Betz and Jason Moore.
Welcome in, everybody.
It's getting hot. It's the time. People are excited. The combine is in the rearview mirror, and everyone is so happy.
Yes.
Yes.
There was approximately, I believe, 55 people that tested this past weekend, Jason, if you want to.
Oh, really? About 55, huh? Okay. Yeah, let's go.
That was great.
Thank you, Betz.
Yeah, you're welcome. For those that aren't aware,
we got to pull
today. Josh has to do more work, so you might hear a lot of drops.
Yeah, it's really funny. Every show that we record, this specific Dynasty show, there's like a whole nother layer of work that has to be done if a baller ends up hitting a drop, which usually we don't on this show. But Josh was a little less prepared than usual for today, so I said I'm going to punish him and immediately make sure that I'm hitting drops today. So he's sitting in the back, and I stared him down when I hit that applause button like, you got work to do, brother. So that's the mood we're in today, and we got work to do post-combine.
Yeah, we're so over the combine. We're past it, and yet we're going to talk about it here on this podcast. We're going to do a rookie mock draft, kind of give a lay of the land after the combine, really talk about how much we need to overreact, how much we need to underreact to what people did in spandex. And by people, what we really mean is the really fast guys did it.
Right.
And then everybody else just said, like, I don't want to do this.
Agents are finally wising up where it's like, hey, dude, like, we can run this on our own, see what you're going to get, and then be like, nah, dog, this is not going to benefit you. Like, it doesn't benefit players to score bad. So either you should be good and do it or sit out and say, look at my college film. Look at, when I'm sure people are asking Jonah Coleman, who sat out and did not run the 40. I was very, very excited to see Jonah Coleman's 40. One of the most interesting players, potentially the second running back, depending on what you feel, the second to fifth running back, in this draft class. And he didn't run. And so the questions are going to come and say, like, why didn't you run? Were you afraid of your time? Are you slow? Oh, he must be slow. And the answer can always be the same. Dude, look at my tape. Watch my speed on film. You can see it. I'm fast. And then it's like, you can't really hurt yourself with that number. But, of course, these players, I'm sure, will maybe be forced to do it at a pro day, TBD.
You know who I feel bad for?
The guy.
Tight end, Max Klare. Kyle and I talked about the tight ends. I kind of like Max Klare, And if you go back to his Purdue days, which is different than what he was used at Ohio State with Carnell, Tate, and Jeremiah Smith, you're like, okay, I can see it. But like when you show up to Indy and you're just in the same room with Sadiq and Eli Stowers, and you're watching what they're doing, you know what? I'm going to sit this one out. I'm going to sit this one out. We'll wait till the pro day, maybe not run at all. We'll see. But yeah, there's a lot of players that helped themselves this past weekend, that's for sure.
If you think about it as a job interview, which is what it was, and they have that part of it, of the conversations, it's like you're amongst a group, which the NFL loves showing this, by the way, the graphics that say, the defensive backs as a whole, they averaged a 4.44. That's number one all time. The wide receivers, 4.44. And basically every position besides the quarterback had the fastest 40-time average of all time because it was such a small
Because the slower guys aren't running.
Yeah, the dudes aren't doing that anymore. And yet it confirms what we already thought about a lot of the fast guys. Like Zachariah Branch ran like a 4.35. Okay, you're fast. We knew that. Brennan Thompson at Mississippi State. Before the combine, even Dane Brigler was like, I bet he's going to run the fastest 40. So we always say we don't want to double count what the combine does. And then we do have tons of shows where we say, hey, here's what translates. Here's what matters for wide receivers. Does it factor enough for us to actually change how we think about some of these wide receivers in rookie drafts? That's really what we're going to be doing today. Like, okay, this player did this. Did they drop dramatically? I think Carnell Tate right now is being overblown because he didn't run fast enough. But we didn't think he was going to run like a 4.3.
Yeah, the combine, there are certain very individual players or individual positions where it does matter. You want to see a certain height come in or a certain weight come in on a very specific player. You want to see a hand size on a very specific quarterback. There are things like that, or certain positions if you're an offensive lineman or if you're a tight end, which matters for us for fantasy, then yeah, you care about the combine measurables just a smidge more. But I think that 5 years ago, people often made mistakes in fantasy drafts, overblowing the combine results, punishing the Dalvin Cooks for running slow and getting too hot and bothered on the, tiny wide receivers that blaze so fast. And then it's like now I think today we've got enough experience, enough data. Everyone is used to realizing that these combine metrics should not be a huge part of the evaluation process. They're fun.
And the combine, I feel like as a whole is just, it's so different, right? Like I remember even 3 or 4 years ago, they would show all the 3 cones and the 20-yard shuttle, and they would show all this stuff. Now it's like they're just pretty much showing the 40, and that's it on TV from like a spectacle thing for the NFL. So it almost seems like the NFL combine as we kind of knew it 5-10 years ago is kind of dead. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. It just kind of is the way it is. And now the NFL cares about the 40 and these players care about the 40. And it's so silly to me every year because that test is like a specific skill. It is a track stance. And if you have a track background, you're probably going to be better at that. And they practice like that specific test. But when does a wide receiver ever line up in a full track stance to run 40 yards in a straight line without pads?
And you know what?
Never.
Let's dig into that. Why not? Why are these wide receivers not just lining up, hand on the ground, one hand up behind them, ready to hike and go? That needs to be implemented into the NFL. I mean,
Exactly.
Obviously it works. That's how they get their best speed. It really is nonsense. I hope someday we're able to change the way that the combine is done. It won't happen because they want apples to apples comparisons.
Yep.
It's one of those things where we're always like, why don't you put players in pads and a ball in their hand and then see how fast they run? Well, the reason is because they're going to run the 40 in 4.62, and that's like, oh, I was slow, and maybe he's the fastest player alive. You just
Right.
don't have comps.
Yeah, I started messaging Betz. I was like, well, am I going to really go down a rabbit hole where I figure out how many wide receivers did a 40-yard sprint this year? Because I could actually, if I wanted to, figure it out in games and do all that stuff. But I did have this quote that I wanted to throw out there. This is from Luke McCown, who was a former quarterback, and it brought up an interesting discussion. It's Josh McCown's brother. He actually said this. He said, too much speed actually can be a hindrance in your route running. The faster the player is, the more limited his route tree could be. So speed is necessary, but technique and route running savvy is more desirable. And I just thought that was an interesting thought of we think about the players that can downshift as wide receivers as but you can turn on the speed and then you can hit the brakes on these curl routes or these hitch routes that's what makes the different players. And then you think about the best route runners. If we're just going to throw out who's the best route runner in the NFL? It's Justin Jefferson. He didn't run that fast. Devontae Adams. He wasn't very fast. My boy Keenan Allen, always been one of the route running guys. None of these guys are super fast. Cooper Kupp for years. It's the guys that didn't blow away the combine. Even Puka, right? Puka actually was terrible at the combine if we're measuring him in that regard. And yet they just kind of know how to win. And I know that's kind of like a trait you can't always just put a number on. But when you turn on the film, you can just see these guys get open.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just those guys you named spent their entire lives training to be wide receivers, not track stars. And then they're great wide receivers and not as good at track. And so it's go figure.
Yeah, not track guys at all. My last little combine note that I just wanted to throw out there, unless you guys have anything else, is we don't really talk about quarterbacks with this class apart from Mendoza. We kind of throw in Ty Simpson as maybe he's a first rounder. We don't really know, but it's almost I don't really care. We did have a couple of quarterbacks that crushed the combine in Taylor Green of Arkansas, who we've mentioned a couple times on this podcast, Cole Payton, who is the lefty out of North Dakota State. I'm just bringing that up to say there will be quarterbacks that could be drafted on day 2 or projects on day 3, like Taylor Green, that I'm interested for fantasy if you're going to run. And the fact that Green was the guy we highlighted that blew the doors off, some team is going to get tempted by that guy. And I'm very interested in adding him to a taxi squad because that's probably where he's going to end up in Dynasty.
Yeah,
Some
the last
teams
thing
going to get tempted. Kyle's going to get tempted.
Of course.
Come on.
The last things, I guess really when you're just doing a quick recap on the combine, you basically say don't overblow it. Look at the fun outliers. Look whose stock is going up and down because that does happen. It affects how the NFL might view these guys and where they might be drafted. Mike Washington, the running back, had an unbelievable day. Ran 4.33 at over 220 pounds. That's incredible. You had Jeremiyah Love look just as fast, clock in just as fast as he looked on tape. You had some downgrades. Emmett was not as good. Like, I think he was the only person to run the 3-cone drill.
He'll be an interesting discussion in the month.
Yeah, and it probably shouldn't have done that. Ill-advised. Jardians, as I call him. I got Emmett and Jardians here for everyone out there, but Jadarian Price.
I can't not say that every time I see his name.
It's Jardians. Is it bad? Let me ask you this. Is it so he ran slower than people were hoping for? They thought he was, gonna just burn the field. He didn't. Is it bad when you come in with like I was down on him. I know he's a lot of people's number 2 running back, and for me, I'm like I can't possibly put him there. And maybe I'm foolish, but I couldn't. And then when he comes in and runs slow, to be happy with his failure, like I'm going to be honest, I kind of was. And I wish the guy good luck, but is that wrong of me? Is that like a bad thing in my heart?
Oh,
I think we all do it, just like.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not here to dunk, but the fact that Matthew Gold didn't have a touchdown this past year, inside yeah. I go, oh, you know, but I think Jadarian Price is one of the guys that does the opposite. I think he's faster in pads. Like
I don't think when I watched him, I was never knocking his speed. I wasn't like, oh, the guy's not fast.
It's the production profile
and how it comes about as the backup when the defensive scheme is being taking a break from Jeremiyah Love and those things. But the other big takeaways, you had Kenyon, Sadiq, and Stowers at tight end just dominate, which is great news for a position where the athletic profile does matter a lot more than at the other skill positions. Who else? Are we forgetting any other big movers or shakers at the draft or at the combine?
I don't think so. I mean, those 2 tight ends made themselves some money this weekend for sure. Otherwise, I think a lot of kind of what we'd expected. We didn't get to see Makai Lemon or Jordyn Tyson run. I think people were kind of hoping for that, but otherwise, not too many other takeaways for me.
We have a full list of risers and fallers, which are now live in our Dynasty Pass. So if you have the Ultimate Draft Kit Plus, you get that. And then we just added this literally right before we hit record. Our dev team told me that our scouting reports for all of the players that we've profiled, especially on the podcast. So, when we went through and said, here's what we like about Casey Concepcion's film, here's what we liked about Max Klare, we have scouting reports that are available in the Dynasty Pass that will be coming to the app as well. And we will be slowly adding those more and more. There's going to be some players that rise over the next month or so that we'll try to make sure we add in those scouting reports. But a lot of good information on there. If you're like, hey, I can't remember what you guys talked about on the podcast. What is his red flags again? You can bring that up. You can see all of that in the Ultimate Draft Kit Plus. So jump in on that. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll do the thing.
Makalaka ding dong.
Baby.
Yeah. That thing. Here we go. I don't have the number prepared in front of me, but if I was a really, really good employee and good friend, I could figure out how many mock drafts Jason has done on the podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing you're somewhere in the like 400 to 500 podcasts of mock drafts.
Probably in the 450 range. You're nailing it.
Kyle, you just got yourself an assignment after the show.
I know. I can figure it out real quick. All right, here we go.
The Fantasy Footballers Mock Draft.
We will be doing a 2-round one quarterback mock on our Dynasty Pass. We have a 3-rounder. And then just to give a caveat, we'll give some caveats about Superflex rankings. I just need to be very, very clear because there's somebody at the top that heard me say one quarterback, and they're just ready to turn off the podcast.
Yeah. What? That's not how Dynasty leagues are. That's how that's how lots of them are.
Of all years, this is a perfect example, right? To say, okay, we can give a caveat of where we take Mendoza, and we've mentioned that on the quarterback episode. Like, I'd feel comfortable anywhere from 2 to like 5 or 6. Like, and I'd probably a little lower. Some people are like, I got to take him at 2 after Love. It's different how you play. It's different based on your supply, your need. And if you want to play that way, that's fine. We just normally subscribe to, you don't have to take a quarterback because it's a super flex league. And then at this point in the process, guys, I don't actually know what Ty Simpson is. So to say I'm going to take him in a super flex league in March, I just don't know. I don't know if he belongs in the second round of Superflex. Maybe you're like, yes, of course he does. I don't know where he's going to be drafted, because if he is drafted on day 2, is he going to matter very much in day 2 in the NFL draft?
Probably not. I mean, you've got, because he's mobile, and it really depends on what team he goes to and what his position is to take over. Tyler Shuck last year, went to a team that was in desperate need of a quarterback. If he goes and is a backup for someone, it's like, yeah, he's got this grade on him. He goes and it doesn't look like he's got necessarily a path to start. Then, I mean, that'll wildly change his rookie draft where you're going to want to take him.
Okay. The way that we're going to do this is it's going to go me, Betz, and then Jason, and we're just going to keep going in that order. I also have some listener questions we'll mix in. So, for instance, with the first pick, everybody's going to have Jeremiyah Love. I would take Jeremiyah Love there. But I thought it was interesting. I had a question from a couple of listeners. They asked, what would it take for you to move off of the 101? So I had a question where they said, hey, I have running backs already, and I really want to rebuild my team with some like young wide receivers. So somebody asked, would you trade Tetero McMillan for Jeremiyah Love, or Tetero McMillan and a draft pick for Jeremiyah Love? Like, what would it take for you to move off of the 101?
I mean, I think that type of offer is fair. I personally, like, if you hold the 101 right now, you have to be the one in charge of the trade. Like, don't take 85 cents for this pick, because it will gain value over the next month and a half. There's so much talk leaving Indy, like, hey, I don't even, the most common mock right now is Jeremiyah Love to the Chiefs. There's a lot of talk of like, I don't even think he makes it to the Chiefs. So if you're talking about a guy that's going to go in the top, 5 or 6 picks, potentially, maybe 7 overall, that is going to be insanely, insanely valuable. We just saw what Genty before the season had value-wise. Jeremiyah Love should be able to get you a haul, like a true stud. I was in this position last year on a team. I was able to, I forget the exact trade, like the pieces around these players, but it was basically the 101 and a player, I can't remember who it was, for CeeDee Lamb and like a secondary pick or something like that. You need to swing way higher than Tetero McMillan, who I like Tetero McMillan, but like the fact that Jeremiyah Love is billed as the guy in this class, and a lot of people say can't miss, you have to use that to your advantage. So I'd be swinging for more personally.
Yeah, I think Tet is a good place to start because he's very, very young. He looks good. He proved himself, but he has not broken out as a fantasy superstar. It's still a projection. That's where you might be able to get like a Tet and a 1 from someone, and I would do that. I would do that for sure. I do think that Jeremiyah Love's value is appropriately high. I mean, I look at, most of the destinations he might go in this draft. Obviously, if he goes to the Giants, that would suck. The draft capital would be great. That's one of the rumors. But if he falls to that 7 to 10 range and ends up with the Commanders, where they desperately need a running back, and you got Jaden Daniels at a good offense, or at 9 to the Chiefs, which that would, I can't imagine a better landing spot than that. I mean, if those happen, you're talking about a guy who really should be, we talked about it on the main show that came out yesterday, which was essentially, we love Ashton Genty. He's young. He's a stud. For Dynasty, he's great, but I think I would take, like, even in a redraft, if Washington or the Chiefs is the spot for Jeremiyah Love will be going really high in drafts. He'll be a borderline first-round pick right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, there's Titans at 4. You mentioned the Giants, Commanders, Saints, Chiefs. Like all of those in the top 10 feel like they're very much in play, to the point of all the early mocks were Chiefs, and now we're like, I don't think he lasts there anymore. Where does he settle, real quick, and then we'll go through this mock draft. Where does he settle in terms of dynasty startup rankings at running back? So if you want to have Gibbs and Bijan at the top, is he 3? Is he 4? Where does he?
He is right there in that mix. I mean, the 3 and 4 for me right now are Omar Hampton and Ashton Genty, and depending on where he lands, he's going to be ahead of them or right behind them. So he's 3, 4, or 5 to me.
It's pretty wild that we can not only feel confident about the 101, feel confident about whatever system he's in. Now Tennessee, I still have my reservations about what is that offense, but the Commanders would be great. I would be totally fine with that.
I think Tennessee's the one that scares me the most.
Yes. Yeah, Tennessee's wild. All right, Betz, you're up at the 102.
All right. I mean, that's obviously one of the big 3 wide receivers. This is what you're going to see in every draft that you have this offseason. I'm going to not be swayed by anything that happened this past weekend. I'm going to stick with Jordyn Tyson, who I prefer analytically over Carnell Tate, and I do love Makai Lemon, but I think Jordyn Tyson has that kind of potential superstar capability where just the analytical profile is off the charts. I think there's a chance Carnell Tate both guys could go Makai Lemon in the real NFL draft ahead of Jordyn Tyson, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Tyson won't be good for fantasy. So I'm going to take Jordyn Tyson.
Oh yeah, the people don't like that.
That's who you wanted.
That is who I wanted. I'm still Jordyn Tyson as the number 1. Obviously, this is pre-NFL draft, so we will adjust our internal rankings on all these guys, and that could certainly shift. I could see Tyson falling in the first round due to injury history or something like that. But as far as a prospect goes, when I see these guys, he is the one I want. He's if I was an NFL team, he's who I would be drafting first. So, I mean, that makes it pretty easy for me. I'm going to take Tate here at 3 and let Borg decide on the snake.
Ooh.
The interview king himself.
We definitely need to talk about that. Especially, I know Betz wants to distill all the rumors as somebody who loves these types of moments in the offseason where people just need to go outside for a little while and stop overanalyzing. Last thing I'll say about Tate is I do think he's going to be drafted first of the group, and I
agree.
Still would take Tyson ahead. So I think we're all in lockstep about Tyson, Tate there. I will take Makai Lemon at 104, but if you didn't notice, there was a lot of stuff on the internet. By the way, there's a lot of stuff on the internet in general of everything in the world, and everybody has a take. But apparently he, quote, bombed his interview. And we always give people a reminder at this point of the year that NFL teams have very little to gain in being truthful at this point in the offseason. Like, what would it take for someone to say, hey, we have this guy 5th on our board? Teams aren't going to share that information if they're smart. There's a couple of GMs that I think are dumb that could be doing this stuff. But if any team is saying that, I would use it as a smokescreen if it was me, if they were actually putting out this information.
The issue is what was reported, and obviously this could be smoke, this could be lies. I mean, a lot of times you're reporting what you believe is the truth, and they are actual lies that are given to you to leak. So I know what you're saying, but what was reported was that essentially when asking around, he bombed his interview so bad that there were like 4 teams that took him off their board. And it coincides with his own little press conferences where he's like,
it was not ideal.
It wasn't great.
It's so weird, man. He's like asking these questions. If you haven't seen it, I mean, just Google the name. You don't even have to put anything else. That's what's going to come up. All these interviews where he just is slithering around, his head's moving like a silly
You got to move your
snake.
head down so it's like the eyebrows too.
Oh yeah,
There
it's
you go.
like
There you go.
what are you doing? People don't talk like this. But I will say this. Wide receiver be crazy. Okay. I don't mind
One of
all the
crazy.
positions.
I don't mind my wide receivers a little diva, a little crazy. I mean, I would prefer Larry Fitzgerald, a Justin Jefferson, someone that's just going to be just the the model dude and go about everything the right way. But I'll take a TO. You know what I mean? Like, put that on my team. Give me some crazy. Antonio Brown, pretty good at playing wide receiver. So I don't know. We'll see where he ends up, but that has been making the rounds on the Twitter sphere, the awkwardness of the Makai Lemon interviews.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, if we're being honest. I will say the other thing that I've kind of seen and heard is people asked him about, his competitive nature and stuff like that, and he basically kind of came out and said, yeah, I'm the best receiver in this class, which these guys all should and want to believe in all that stuff. And then he didn't really compete in any of the drills, just did kind of the on-field stuff. So then teams, I think, were a little soured on like, well, if that's the case, why aren't you competing? All that to say is I feel like in about 3 or 4 weeks, nobody's going to be talking about any of this. Yeah. So I personally don't care at all. That's my personal take. But it is at least worth having some fun with it because it was silly. I'm going to take
it. The only fear is that it comes 1 year off the heels of all the rumors of how bad Shedeur Sanders was in his interviews. We had this report last year for Shedeur, that he bombed his interviews, that people were not liking his attitude and all this. And then he did fall in the draft. Like that, it turned out that very much was, a piece of the puzzle. So I don't know. Anyways, go on.
Yeah, you brought up Tate McMillan last year because people were like, oh, this guy doesn't like watching football film. And everyone's like, oh, this is no good. He doesn't have any competitive fire, goes 8th overall, and nobody's asking any questions about it. I think production-wise, you don't have any questions, Betz, other than maybe he broke out later. But he seems pretty much locked into this top 5, Lemon.
I think so. Yeah, there's people that prefer Tate to Tyson versus Lemon, and it's kind of pick your choice. But the way that it is right now, I think it's going to be a common ranking, but there are differences. At the 5th spot is where I think it gets really interesting in this mock. I think you can make a case for Sadiq after what he did at the combine. I'm going to go with, I don't know if I want to say my guy or Kyle's guy or our guy, Concepcion, who is just fun to say because you get to do the fingers and you get to do the voice. We both really like him. There's a lot of buzz on him as a first-round receiver, early breakout age, so there's some stuff in his profile that definitely is there to like, and just an easy guy to root for. So I will take him here at the 105.
I was so glad that when we did the receiver show a couple weeks ago, we did a deep dive on him. He's been a player that Betz and I have talked about a bunch, but we even brought up the fact of his story, how he's walked through a lot of stuff with stuttering and how he's overcome that. And that was a huge story at the combine. So it was like one of those things that our listeners, I know I love doing deep dives on people, but like as the person, we got to remember that these are real people that are competing in football, and it's just cool. So hopefully he's in the first round. There's a small part of me that thinks I'm going to Troy Franklin this thing, and he ends up being like mid to late round 2. Obviously Franklin was round 4, but so we're at Jason.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought I was one more pick away. That's great. This is where I'm going to stick to my pre-draft guns, players that I like, that I believe in. We don't have the draft capital yet to know for sure if there's a first-round wide receiver or if this guy fell in the draft. I'm going to draft based on the talent I see, and I think Jonah Coleman is the second running back in this draft. I believe I really like this tape. His ability to catch the ball is as good as anyone. You can rifle him the ball a foot away from your feet, and he will just catch it like he's got sticky on his hands. No hitch in the giddy up. And, I know he didn't run the 40. He looked fast to me, very fast. Like the speed, the burst, the from stopped to go. I don't know if he's got the top end breakaway speed. Maybe that would have hurt his 40 time. But I like Jonah Coleman. I'm hopeful in the NFL draft, kind of like you, Kyle, that with Concepcion, that the NFL believes what we believe in the pre-draft process, and then he has draft capital. I expect him to be a day 2 pick. I'm hoping that he is the second running back taken off the board, and hopefully in the second round. That might be a little high.
Yeah, I think he could end up in that, where Jonathan Brooks and where Trey Benson were, second, third round in a weak class. And, you can look at him not running at the combine in a couple ways. You'd be like, oh, they're hiding something. Or maybe they're like, hey, we already know how good you are, and we're not trying to hide anything, but we also don't gain anything from this part of the process. So production-wise and just the way that he worked in that offense as a do-it-all guy, like I do like him a lot. What do you feel like is the range, Jason, not knowing the draft capital yet? So you take him at 106, but like, how far could he fall in your mind? Like, is there a fear that he could?
Oh, absolutely. I think he could
like drop outside the first round.
Yeah, of rookie drafts. Yeah, I mean,
of rookie drafts.
The running backs in this year's class are weak, and they are not. There's not a lot of unity into who likes who where. So if he drops out of day 2, if he ends up being like Cam Scatterbo and drop into the beginning of the 4th round, yeah, that will tumble him in your rookie drafts, appropriately so, as he should. So really, I don't know that there's another player out there, like when I'm thinking of the range of outcomes of the NFL draft, that is quite as wide. I mean, there's always the shock, right? Maybe someone gets hot and bothered with Mike Washington, and they draft him way higher than we think he's going to go in the NFL draft. But outside of like the shock, I won't be surprised if Jonah Coleman is a 2, a 3, or a 4 in the NFL draft, and that's a really wide range for a player.
Yeah, it's tough. I mentioned Troy Franklin earlier. Of like, I like this player. I like his production profile. I think he can work in the modern day NFL, and it's like it gets stretched out. Where even in rookie drafts, whatever take you have, you're like, this is a 4th round player. I can't just ignore that. So Jonah Coleman at 106 here. I'm at 107. And I think Sadiq is the easy pick for me. Part of me wants to like dig in a little deeper and try to figure out, but I feel like Sadiq is the pick that I feel comfortable at this spot in the draft. I don't feel comfortable comparing him to all the other rookie tight ends we've talked about the last couple years. Betz and I on the tight end prospect preview, we mentioned how Sadiq was going to test really well, and yet his production profile among first-round tight ends feels kind of low. Like, he had some touchdowns his final year at Oregon. He had some incredible highlight reel touchdowns, and yet he didn't command targets in the offense in a way that we would say, man, we knew Fannin would see targets, hopefully, or we knew Loveland or Warren. So I feel like Sadiq is a high floor pick, and yet I'm not really expecting a ton in year 1 the way that we saw with these other tight ends. Do you guys feel similar of like, this is a high floor pick, but so I'm not going to strike out.
I don't even think it's a high floor pick. I mean, I stand a little bit more alone in that. I will say that you're going to have draft capital, so he should be taken in the top 15 picks. That is great for success. The athletic profile is great, but because of his college production, there's some, there's orange flags to me to take a guy that high.
Where's
orange is between the yellow and the red. You know what I mean? Like,
whoa,
it's I mean, it's kind of like that's what is this, like 3rd grade, kindergarten? When do you learn your colors?
I didn't know where it was in your world, Jason. Which I respect your world, but
right, that's true. Anything. It could be between yellow and green. It's kind of orangey there. No, his production scares me. It's like, if he's this good, and obviously he is that athletic, but if he's that good, why wasn't he just the dude for them, even at his own position? And so you worry about that. A lot of times those things translate, and it could be for other good reasons, as as a run blocker and the utilization, and but I don't know that he's not coming in the way that a Brock Bowers came in. He's not coming in with some of these prospects that have an unbelievable production profile, dominant collegiate history, and then are drafted high. He is coming off the back of a lot of early rookie tight end success. The fact that you had Laporta, and then you had Bowers, and then last year the trifecta, Fannin was great, Loveland was great, Warren was great. I think that's going to make it easier for teams to say, hey, this is a can't miss prospect. Let me take him earlier. Let me do what's been successful lately in the NFL. I'm going to pull the trigger at pick 10 on Sadiq, an athletic freak. I'm going to win the day. My draft grade will look good. And so I hope it works out. He certainly belongs in the first round of rookie drafts anytime you're a top 15 pick. But I do have worries. I don't think he's a super high floor. I think there's a chance that he's not great for fantasy.
One of the landing spots I saw was Tampa Bay, which Kaytron's a free agent. You remember years ago, they took a tight end in the first round, O.J. Howard, also had an insane athletic profile, but didn't have the production. That would just be an interesting spot. You're like, man, there's a lot of different targets there, a lot of different avenues. Do they bring back Mike Evans? But if he's taken there in a top 15 pick, and I had this question from Ben, he asked this on Twitter, does it change anything about Sadiq, like in a tight end premium league, one of those leagues that rewards tight ends? Would you go any higher bets from here?
I personally, in that format, would probably take him over Jonah Coleman, who went before him in this mock. I would still take the big 3 wide receivers, obviously Jeremiah Lubb, and I think I personally would take KC over him, but that's kind of where I'd pencil him in that range.
Okay, so kind of still right around this spot, and I think this is where he's going to go in a lot of drafts.
Yep. All right, it is back to me. This is tough. I think there's 2 wide receivers who could still go in the first round of the real-life NFL draft, that being Denzel Boston and Omar Cooper Jr. I'm going to take Omar Cooper Jr. here. He kind of is like, it feels like Ibuka to me, where it's like last year we talked about he does a lot of stuff really well. Maybe he's not like insanely athletic and he's not the most dominant receiver you've ever seen, but I feel really good about his ability to translate from college to the NFL. So I'm going to take Omar Cooper Jr. here and let Jason make the next pick, who I think is going to be who I didn't pick. It
sure will. And in fact, had you had our picks been different, they would have been different, because I would have taken Denzel Boston ahead. I like both prospects. The production is better on Omar, but Denzel Boston, TBD on the draft spot. He could end up being a first-round rookie wide receiver. He's got that big frame, the touchdown upside. And also, to me, so I've been doing, you guys know this, but the audience doesn't know this. I've been doing mad work on prospecting models, getting so much data that my eyes are bleeding, machine learning stuff, building a really robust model that I'm very happy with right now. Back-tested it historically, and it's looking pretty good. But in that, Denzel Boston, my FELIX model, that's what it's called.
Oh, I can't believe you just
I'm dropping it early. But yes, my forecasting elite league impact and expectation score, FELIX. My FELIX model has him at a 91st percentile grade. And looking back over the years, if you're in the top 90th percentile or above, you have success at like a 77% clip. And when I say success, I built all this for fantasy football only. This isn't just like, oh, he's got a second contract in the NFL. This is, are you relevant? Are you impactful in fantasy production? And he ticks a lot of the boxes that predict future success. So Denzel Boston is kind of a tier break. I do agree with you. Those 2 guys, Omar and Denzel, are the next 2 where it's like, okay, then a breath for me, and I'm glad that I got to not be after the breath, but before it.
2 things here. 1, Jason, expect 1,000 questions from listeners and people around the world asking about your model over the next
Kyle,
couple of days.
I've been meaning to talk to you about this because, I mean, this will be...
Oh, this is a great spot.
Yeah, this is a great spot right in the middle of the show. I think I'm going to put together an article because I'm sure we're going to public face this at some point.
A.K.A. Kyle, help me put together an article.
Well, you're the editor. You're the editor-in-chief. So, I think I'm going to put an article out at some point detailing the FELIX model. I'm going to wait until after the NFL draft because right now it's using projected draft capital. And so all of this, I don't want to like put out Denzel very well might not be a 91st percentile athlete, score after the NFL draft. So, but I will put out an article detailing as much as I can on this. It's without boring people to tears.
Denzel, my man, Denzel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing I need to bring up is that my favorite thing about this iteration of Jason, and we've talked about this, is that I don't really know where Jason begins and I don't know where FELIX ends. That's where
baby.
They are
Jason,
one.
I do have a question about this. Is the Black Book still alive, or are we done with the Black Book?
No, the Black Book is still alive.
Okay,
the Black
good.
Book is still alive. This is in addition to. I will say that, and I said this to you guys before the show as well. At this point in the year, I have usually gotten through more film than I have this year, because at this point in the year, I have not done the hundreds of hours of work on the analytical side and the prospect modeling side and all that. So it's the Black Book continues to grow and needs to grow. FELIX has usurped the Black Book for now.
That's fair.
There is somebody out there that loves statistical modeling, and they're just Jason's talking dirty to them right now.
You have no idea. You have no idea the amount of data in this.
All right, we're gonna finish this first round before our break, and I think I'm gonna give a hot take here.
All right,
Kyle.
Because there's a spot here for Mendoza. I think he belongs near the end of the first round. I'm considering Elijah Sarratt of Indiana, but I think maybe I'm threading a needle here. I think Emmett Johnson is good. I think Emmett Johnson will be a day 2 pick. And I think in the same way that he did not test well in the NFL, might hurt his draft capital, but I think it actually doesn't change my opinion about him as a player, much so how I thought about Bucky Irving. I like Bucky's film, tested terribly, went to the 4th round. I'm like, I guess I can't like this player. Yeah, maybe you're putting him down as Emmett. Kyle thinks he's good, Johnson. Love the production profile. Obviously can catch the ball. So this could change very much so, but I like Emmett Johnson.
I think this is the time to take him. It's very similar to Jonah Coleman, where it's like we're kind of doing our pre-NFL draft flag plants a little bit, softly putting the flag in there just to kind of. It's more like the little flag that goes in a cupcake, like this isn't a flag you're putting in the moon. This is just like, this one's red, because.
You think they put a flag in the moon?
Because Emmett Johnson certainly could tumble, especially after the poor combine, and then he'll tumble in this draft. But for now, I know Andy liked him. You liked him. I really, really, really enjoyed the tape. I liked the tape. I had questions as to whether his gimmicky move, which is kind of how I feel about it, which I adored watching. It's so fun to watch, and it works every dang time. Every ounce of his running is just helter-skelter, herky-jerky, jump this way and that way, and it worked every time. But on all my notes, it was like, will this work against NFL defenders? And then when you go and you do the combine, and you're like, I just don't know if you – I don't know if you got the athleticism to do that at the next level. If you do, it's going to be cool. But, yeah, I'm glad you took him here.
I mean, Emmett does have that insane receiving production as well, which goes a long way in our game. This is the spot where I'm going to take Fernando Mendoza at the 11th overall pick. Kind of feels like anywhere from 10 to 12-ish is where you'll see him go in 1 QB leagues. Not the most prolific fantasy scorer, I think, at least in year 1, with kind of given the state of the team, and not the elite rushing quarterback. So at this point, it's more just I see holes in every other prospect at this point. So therefore, I'm going to slot in the quarterback who's going to go first overall to the Raiders.
Jason, finish out the first round.
Yeah, I'm going to take Elijah Sarratt, the player you just mentioned earlier, 6'2", 210, a bigger bodied back with an 84th percentile FELIX score, projected draft capital, TBD. Had enough production, especially early in Indiana as in 2024, had almost 1,000 yards. There's plenty of things I like on him. I expect him to be a day 2 pick, which is good. And so I think this is, he'll sneak into a lot of first rounds here. The end of the first round and the beginning of the second is really where you're going to have some wild swings, I think, in your actual drafts when they're taking place.
For sure. And these Indiana wide receivers, Omar Cooper Jr., Elijah Sarratt, we will detail them next week. We have an episode with Mike coming up where we're going through the rest of the wide receiver prospects. So if we didn't get to some of those names earlier, we'll have a full episode on these guys. Let's take a quick break, and we'll get on to round 2. All right, we are at the top of the second round. If you're following on YouTube, you can see the board in front of you. And there's 2 running backs that I don't know the draft capital, but they both have a chance to be the RB2 in this class. Like, apart from the fact that I like Jonah, Coleman, and Emmett Johnson more for the game we play, the NFL might like Mike Washington Jr. or Jadarian Price more. So that's a tough conversation and a tough tension to be like, oh man, if this guy's going to be drafted, 50th overall, wherever he is in the second round, I have to deal with that because an NFL team clearly thinks this guy can be a starter. So Mike Washington, I was going through his profile and we have it in our scouting reports. It's like really hard to figure out what he is. He's big. He did catch the ball a little bit. His hands weren't great. He fumbled the ball a ton, by the way.
12 fumbles.
It's like,
yikes. Don't worry about that. Just watch the 40.
But he's big and strong.
Yeah.
You think the big, strong guys could hold on to the ball a little better.
It's tough because at the beginning of this process, he was outside the top 100 on most consensus big boards for just NFL draft. And I got this message from Denny. He's the guy who runs the NFL mock draft database account. He runs the website, a site we talk about all the time. But he was asking about Mike Washington. He's like, if he keeps climbing, how high could he go in these rookie drafts? And I was like, man, if he's the second running back taken on a team where we see opportunity, would it shock you if Mike Washington in rookie drafts was like the 107?
If he goes that high, if he's the second running back taken in the NFL draft, no, he'll be in the first round of most people's drafts. You've got the size, speed that works, a production profile at least for 1 year that works. If the NFL draft capital comes, then he probably will be. I'm skeptical that the NFL will pull the trigger that high on him personally. Is that who you're taking?
That's what you're. Yeah, I'm going to take him.
All right.
Yeah, this is the guy I'm most worried about. Like
Big Mike airstrike.
He's everybody's favorite running back sleeper in this class, which means he's no longer a sleeper and he will get steamed to high heaven because of his athletic profile, which I do understand. But I'm surprised Kyle hasn't pointed this out 14 times this offseason yet. He's already 24 years old. He went to Buffalo for 3 years, then to New Mexico State,
I'm out.
Then to Arkansas. And so it's just like,
he's cultured.
I guess. I think he's a fine player. I don't think he's anything special, and I do think because of his combine performance, he will get overdrafted, even in rookie drafts, relatively speaking. So I'm a little worried about Mike Washington, but if this is the price for him, early second, I'm in. If he's up there with those first-round wide receivers, I'm probably out.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out a comp because it's like blazing speed, you're really big, yet your hands aren't great, and my only comp was he's a souped-up version of Jordan Howard, who was drafted in the 5th round. But interesting player. Betz 202.
It's Jardion's time. This is the spot where I will take Jadarian Price. I'll be honest. I don't have a strong take on him. I think he's a fine player, but like to me, from projecting him forward, it's really all about like film evaluation. Like there's nothing in his receiving profile that gets you excited. Obviously, he didn't really dominate the backfield because Jeremiyah Love is him. He's probably going to be a day 2 pick, and that's kind of all I have for you as an early down grinder. It's fine in this price point for me in rookie drafts, but I don't really feel excited about it.
He has to be an outlier, or else this is just a wild pick. But I mean, it's just crazy that the entire process, at least like leading up to this, it was like, well, obviously he's the RB2, and we're all looking around like, man, this doesn't look like the RB2 in the fantasy game that we play. So there's still a lot to learn here with Jardians, as the kids say. So Jason, 203.
Yeah, 203. I'm gonna take Chris Bell, wide receiver, Louisville, 6'2", 210. FELIX score 81. That's all I do here now.
That's like okay.
That's all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the ACL tear. Do you worry? What's the you're as the injury man.
He's tough in Dynasty because so much of Dynasty evaluation is like, what is this guy going to do in his first year, and then how is he viewed moving forward? And I feel like it's going to be hard for him to get on the field as a rookie because his injury was, I believe, in late November. And so it's like at this point, then you're thinking about what he does this offseason. He'll miss, obviously, all of the combine, not going to run at his pro day, not going to do anything at rookie minicamp or OTAs. And then in training camp, probably very limited. And it's just kind of hard to get on a moving train at that point as a rookie for an NFL team. So then we're like entering year 2. It's like, what is he? That's kind of my concern on him. I kind of like some aspects of him. So I don't mind taking a shot. It's just I don't know what he's going to to do, if much at all, in his first
I'm
year.
really curious where he goes in the draft. This was a guy who was projected a lot of times to be a first-round NFL draft pick. And then what does that do to teams? Do teams do the same thing that you're talking about where you're like, well, if we can't rely on him in his rookie year, I don't want to pull the trigger with high draft capital, pay this player who's not going to make an impact early on? Or are we going to, get a player that wouldn't be here at this pick if he was healthy and just take the best player available? If he ends up on the latter, then I do think that means that an NFL team has planned for him and will bring him along well enough to be a second-round pick in fantasy drafts.
We'll do our film evaluation of him next week, but my first note is that this is a sturdy boy. He is sturdy. He's thick.
He's thick boy.
And it's weird because a lot of wide receivers, we think of them as like an outside wide receiver that's smooth. And then you look at some other guys, you're like, okay, Xavier Legette, you are a thick dude that when some people just don't want to tackle you. So Chris Bell's an interesting evaluation with a lot of variables where he goes. I think he's right now sitting around 50th overall in consensus board. So hopefully he's there in round 2. I'm going to take Eli Stowers at 204, the Vanderbilt, and I'm going to use quotes, tight end in name only, because he's really a slot wide receiver who, if you used his metrics as a receiver, still would grade out very well, combine metrics. But I think a team on day 2 will say, I envision using him as my slot hybrid tight end in my offense.
That's fair. I was going to take him if you didn't, so let me just kind of circle back here. I'm going to be a homer and take one of the Penn State guys. I think most people will take Kaytron Allen above Nick Singleton. I think you'll get a really nice discount on Singleton in rookie drafts because of the foot injury, which we're not going to get testing for. We'll see what he does at the pro day. I don't think he'll be 100%, but obviously he didn't run this past weekend. And so I think you'll get a little discount. I just kind of go back to the pass catching between these two, and like in the game we play, that works better usually. So I'll take Nick Singleton here at the 5th pick of the second round.
I think Jason likes hearing that.
I do.
He likes Singleton the most out of all of us, and I think I've come around to the fact of like I didn't like the injury, and now I'm like I think he's just going to work better in the NFL than Kaytron Allen.
That's what it sounded like. I didn't like the injury, but But it's a foot. It's a foot injury, so I kind of like it now.
It's a contrarian take. It's kind of good for him. Yeah, I don't mind Singleton here. Do you think he ends up being on day 2?
I think he's fringe. I wouldn't be surprised if he falls to the 4th.
I think he would have if not for the foot injury.
He would have helped himself a lot this past weekend.
Yeah,
tested really well.
What is the speed and recovery of that foot?
It's usually like 3 to 4 months. So he'll be ready to go in training camp.
Be able to play. Okay. I mean, yeah, I liked him a lot. He was my pre-NFL draft, my running back 3 behind Jonah Coleman. I certainly and it's funny too because I think most people don't even like him as much as his teammate from the same team that I've heard, but you spoke exactly what I feel. The receiving profile there, the size, the utilization. When you've got a big beef boy with breakaway speed who catches the ball, it's everything you want for fantasy football. I don't know why he's not getting more love, and how much of that is the fact that, was it at the Senior Bowl where he broke his foot?
It was, yeah, in practice.
Yeah, that's not fun. But, I like big beef boys with breakaway speed. So
there you go. Am
I up right now?
You are?
I'm between a couple of guys here. I got Germie. Germie Bernard. I can't read his name. That's you can't do that. You can't. I'm Mama Bernard. You're not allowed to do this. Okay? You can't name your son Jeremie. Spelled Germie. You can't do it. Okay? So you named your son Germie. You meant to name him Jeremie, but you named him Germie. So, I mean, look, I don't make the rules for English. I just follow them half the time.
Do you?
Half the time.
Yeah, okay.
This is the half I'm choosing to follow them.
Wait, but are you taking him?
I don't know. After all that, no, I'm not going to take a guy named Germie. So
yeah, we have that actually in the Dynasty Pass, a red flag for him.
Right.
Is his name.
Yeah. No, I'll take Malachi Fields. His name is pronounced how it's spelled, which is a huge plus. I think those two guys are kind of in that same next tier here. Fields being, I guess I've got a type. It seems I'm liking sturdy, large men in this year's draft class. 6'4.5", 218, big boy. Didn't run very fast, but had enough production to be okay. Transferred around a lot. I like some of the skill set, and the projected draft capital appears like it should be pretty good. I think probably the same projected draft capital for both Malachi and Germie.
Malachi Fields, it will be an interesting name because he was getting first-round buzz a week ago. He will not show up in the first round of any mocks after people copied over, what they saw in other people's mocks. He won't show up there.
Because he was walking
after
during
the combine. Dude, he's a weird player, interesting player. The comp was either like, is he Darius Slayton or is he Dontrell Inman? Really, really tall and runs deep when he needs to. Interesting player for Notre Dame. This is a fun spot, so I'm just going to swing away and just go with the Trigg daddy. Michael Trigg, tight end out of Baylor. I don't know if the NFL hates him, but maybe they love him, and there's some team that could unlock this player. When we did a tight end episode, really fun film, one of Mike's favorite players to root for out of Baylor. Off the field stuff, out the wazoo. So I don't really care as long as it ends up being NFL draft capital. So this is where I would swing away with him at 207.
All right, from the Trigg daddy to a guy that's going to fall in line and follow the plan and maybe be Dalton Schultz in the league. I'll take Max Klare. I'm just kidding on the Dalton Schultz comp, but if you go back to his Purdue stuff, I really do think there's something there as a kind of sleeper in this class. So we'll see what the NFL thinks of him, but in the mid to late second, I will go Max Klare.
All right, Germie. All right. I give you a little tiny punishment.
He's more of a 209 guy.
Right, he's more of a 209 guy. So I will take Jeremy Bernard, Crimson Tide wide receiver. Really in that same tier of the last pick. It's when I look at these guys, not that they're similar, play styles, still the size that I like, over 6 foot, 200 pounds. I prefer my wide receivers to be 200 pounds. I just do. I like 200-pound wide receivers. Call me sizest. But he's got that. He had enough on his production profile. We'll see where he's drafted. Germie is mine.
He's a interesting player because he started off at Michigan State on the same team as Keon Coleman and Jaden Reed in college. He goes to Washington with Michael Penix and part of that team, and then he goes to Bama, and it feels like last year at Bama, I was like, is he this team's wide receiver one? Because it didn't ever feel like the team had a one this past year, so we're going to do him again next week, but Germie, you want me to do a deep dive about his parents?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that what you want?
I want to know what happened in the hospital room when they wrote out the birth certificate.
Okay. That's cool with me. I'm going to take another wild card because, it's the second round, and once you get to the third round, please, we're shooting for the moon. I want a player that at the end of the day, he could be a unicorn, an alien in the NFL, and it's Adam Randall, running back for Clemson. Yeah. He tested quite well. I'm going to get the numbers out in front of me. I, for some reason, cannot find Jeremy Bernard in the queue. I will find him in just a second.
Is it because he spelled Germie?
You're searching for the wrong name, man.
Yeah.
Apparently I am. The weird part about Randall is you have 4 college carries for the first 3 years of his career because he was a wide receiver. And the dude's just massive, right? 6'2", almost 6'3", 230.
He's a beef boy.
That boy is thick.
We call him the cattle.
Guy's 600 pounds.
Tackle
Nobody
that.
can tackle him.
Oh man. Adam Randall, I don't know what he is. I don't know what NFL teams think about him. And you can throw out the Antonio Gibson, Tyrone Tracy comps of like former wide receivers. Tony Pollard was the same way too. Started off at Memphis as a wide receiver, drafted as running back, but he's huge. And he has an opportunity to basically be something I've never seen in the NFL. So I will take my chances on him. He had a great final year at Clemson, and he is not 600 pounds.
Yeah, he's interesting. It's like Mike has a type, and Mike kind of put me onto him as the converted running back and wide receiver here. So I like him as a sleeper in this class. I will take Kaytron Allen at the 211. I don't know that he's like special by any means, but I think there's a chance he could be a day 2 pick. And at this point in the draft, that's good enough for me.
Speaking of 600-pound men, he's the fat man. If there's anybody who's going to be that fat.
And I will finish this 2-round draft with a son of a former NFL receiver, so it's in his blood, Chris Brazzell II. A nice 1,000-yard, 9-touchdown season for Tennessee. I'm always scared with the Tennessee guys. It's like, production looks good. The stats are there. I've never understood it. Mike and I have lamented and commented about this forever. It's like, it really is a true thing where, the stats are inflated, and we can't comprehend, like, why don't you just, why doesn't every team do that system? Oh, that system just scores so much and has so many yards. It's like, then what? It's not gimmicky, but at the same time, there's enough historical data that it doesn't always translate. But 6'4", 200 pounds, 4.37 speed, enough production to definitely take a swing to finish out the second round of the rookie mock draft.
Yes, and if you want to look at the whole board, you can go to YouTube. Or
83 percentile FELIX score. So
okay, I'm telling you, that gets me moving.
Yeah, as it should.
When I have doubt in my life, I check FELIX and I say, hey, what do you think about this player? And back testing wise, it's pretty good so far. So really, really good stuff there. That's going to do it for this episode. Make sure you check out the Dynasty Pass at ultimatedraftkit.com. All of our scouting reports, they're live, they're there. And we'll talk more receivers next week. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your Dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.